Hello, I'm Anthony David Hobbs, and it's the year 2016. Well, what's the significance of that? Well, I wanted to do something that was 25 years old. Because, yes, that's always, anything's a big deal when it's 25 years old. Well, when I think 1991, I think, well, the movie Terminator 2, that was definitely the best film that year. But I've already done a review of that movie, so I've got, okay, what else? What other significant things happened in 1991 that were brand new? And then I thought, Bottom. The sitcom Bottom. Yes, here it is with Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson. And I believe it's called that because they've hit rock bottom. The two most hapless losers you can possibly imagine. And I remember, I think I saw like the second half of an episode. And I wasn't that keen. And then I went off to do something else. And then I saw the rest of it because I recognise Rick Mayall, of course, from being in The Young Ones. And I thought, there's no way that this will be as good as The Young Ones. It will be a feeble imitation. Well, after I gave it a shot and started watching the show properly, I liked it better than The Young Ones. So yes, there we are, yeah. It's clearly a descendant of The Young Ones, very similar style, but better. But here's the thing. Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson started their comedy as The Dangerous Brothers in 1981, which had very violent humour. How can I put this? Violent slapstick humour, yes. Violent and controversial, but done in a comedic way, yeah. And then, of course, The Young Ones came out in 1982, which was a huge, huge hit. It was big in Australia, and I think the Americans liked it a bit. It wasn't a massive hit, but it did gain a subcult following in America as well. Which is unusual because, yes, most American sitcoms don't have really violent humour, yeah. Unless, of course, you count South Park, yeah. Well, okay, it doesn't have violent live-action humour, yeah. But in a way, yes, I think that's the best way I could describe Bottom. It's like South Park, like in another world where this level of violence is acceptable and funny, yeah. It's done in a very funny way. And, well, Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson wrote every single episode of Bottom, but Ben Elton was not involved at all. Maybe they had a falling out with him or something, I don't know, or creative differences, whatever you like to call it. But in 1986, although it was broadcast in 1987, there was a sitcom called Filthy, Rich and Catflap, in which they play characters called Richie and Eddie. And it's very violent, lots of violent humour in it, but the jokes are not as funny, yeah. And Ben Elton wrote that one. And he was basically trying to, lay another golden egg like he did with Young Ones. But it was a huge flop and was never repeated on TV, so he thought, well, that's it then. I'm not doing anything related to Young Ones again. Nothing in that vein. And then Richie and Eddie, for me, they wrote Bottom, but it was like the improved version of Filthy Rich and Catflap, yeah. And there's no political references like in Filthy Rich. Just keep it simple, yeah. And it was a huge hit, yes. So who's laughing? Ben Elton didn't want to do anything Young Ones like. They did, and it pulled off beautifully. They had a huge big hit, yeah. And in the same year, 1991, on ITV, there was Men Behaving Badly, the first series, which flopped. And it was very similar, like Bottom, yeah, to horrible, vulgar men, yeah. And then Men Behaving Badly was written again, but shown on BBC instead. And gradually, over the years, it had a huge following, got better and better, and was hugely successful. Men Behaving Badly is good, don't get me wrong, but I preferred Bottom, yeah. For me, Men Behaving Badly was the next best thing to Bottom, but Bottom was funnier and more violent. And I think that's what I loved about it, yeah, the violence, yeah. And it's like the darker side of humanity. Sometimes you feel inclined to agree with them. Sometimes they do things that you'd secretly like to do, but daren't do in real life. Like if the gas man comes around because you haven't paid your gas bills yet, beat the hell out of him. Or there's one episode when Edward is ruining Richie's chances of pulling a girl, saying something vulgar, and he goes, "Shut up, Eddie!" and punches him in the balls, and then carries on chatting like it never happened. Yes, it's like the rules are different. Like at the beginning of each episode of Bottom, they're inside a flat, or it's like a piece of a flat, a piece of a building that isn't finished. Now they don't literally live in a piece of a building. No, it's metaphoric. The characters of Richie and Eddie live in a small world. Yes, they can't seem to connect with the outside world. They live in a world of their own where they create their own rules. Yes, and that's why they behave the way they do. And in a way, you can sort of sympathise a bit with them. Like they're both unemployed, have little or no friends, nothing to look forward to, so they take their frustrations out in the world by beating people up. You know. Well, I can see the logic of that, but beating people up is not going to make your problems better. It's going to make them worse, but they don't seem to have grasped that, yeah. And, something else, a bit of symbolism. There's a small photograph of small picture of Elvis Presley in the background. And Richie, that's sort of symbolic because he's as vain as Elvis Presley. Yes, he thinks he's the most amazing thing in the world, yeah. Edward has a small statuette of Spider-Man. Could that be his fantasy is to be a great hero? Because yes, he likes great iconic movie characters and stuff. Yeah. So yes, Bottom had a 1991, then another series in 1992, which was hugely successful. In 1993, there was the first Bottom live stage show, which was a massive hit. And for me, the big irony is some of the funniest bits in that show. When they break character, stuff that's been ad-libbed, yeah. Like when he says, I've got some sad and tragic news. And Eddie says, you don't look very sad about it. You looked a lot sad in rehearsal. It made me cry. You know, oh, he goes, just shut up and get on with the play, will you? Okay. So yes, then there was a third series of Bottom. And The Office, they only did 2 series. Extras only did 2 series. The Young Ones only did 2 series. Why is this? Well, because Fawlty Towers only did 2 series. So they're like, only do 2 series. Don't do too many episodes, otherwise it will look silly. Well, my favourite ever episode of Bottom was Series 3, the one about Halloween. Yeah, when they're trying to raise the devil with the unholy chalice that contains the sprouts of evil. Yes, they are quite wacky, quite crazy, yeah. There was a Bottom Live stage show 2, Bottom Live 3, Bottom Live 4, and Bottom Live 5. So yes, it made a big difference to comedy as far as I'm concerned. For me, it's the definitive violent humour, yes. But the 2 actors were asked, if you ever went in a restaurant and saw characters that behaved, people in real life that behave like those characters, would you leave the restaurant? And they said yes. It is great escapism, but you wouldn't want to meet people like that in real life. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm Anthony Hobbs, and I'm never bored.